Welcome back. I'm joined once more by Brilyn Hollyhand, author of One Generation Away and a political commentator. Brilyn, let's talk. I mean, we've been talking a lot about what the Republicans have been doing right. Let's talk maybe about what they've been doing wrong and how they can kind of reverse course on that as well. If you look again, being from Canada myself, and kind of what's been said over the issue of tariffs, over the issue of Canada-U.S. relations, and even foreign conflicts overseas as well. What do you think the White House strategy is behind some of the kind of tensions again that we've been seeing again on tariffs? Canada-US relations even, or whether it be even Israel and Iran or Russia and Ukraine, right? There's been a lot of conflicts overseas, and it's been another issue where Republicans have kind of braked ranks with each other and been kind of debating about it pretty openly.
Yeah, I would say that under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, America was the laughing stock of the world. We were being trampled on, being walked all over. Today, that's not the case. Today, we're the international standard again, and peace through strength is our motto that the president has put out. If he does that in a unique way through social media, or he does that face to face with different world leaders, I think that it's impactful. And again, it gets back to that narrative of authenticity, of having a world leader that can actually speak for himself, not through some press secretary, not through some consultants. As for the party as a whole, modern day, I think it's the same thing I told the president that one of the first times we ever met when I joined the campaign was we're on the right side of history. We just have a messaging problem of how we word being on the right side of history. And so I think getting back into the narrative, especially going into the midterms, of the incredible success of the first 8 months, constantly making sure the conversation comes back to what the president's been able to accomplish. In the next few minutes, the president's going to be announcing that he's wanting to do a Republican convention before the midterms next year. And I think that would be an entire historic first that kind that has ever happened in the 250-year history of our great nation to have a victory lap for Americans to say, we voted for promises made, promises kept, whether or not we love Donald Trump's personality, but we actually do love the fact that he can actually get things done. Having him come out and say, hi, here's a laundry list that you elected me to do. Here's a laundry list and some that I've accomplished just in 2 years. Elect my party for another 2 years and beyond. And we're going to continue to do that.
I think whether it be, and I mean, obviously, I acknowledge there's been a decent amount of progress made if you look to an issue like Russia and Ukraine, for example. But over the course of the election campaign, Donald Trump had said that he was going to put an end to the war between Russia and Ukraine. He had said that was going to take only one day for him to do that, even between Israel and Hamas as well. And then again, on an issue like tariffs, he said that he was going to use them to put America first and to try and bring down inflation. But my point on that would be a lot of the countries that he's trying to reach tariff deals with, it seems they haven't actually been going as well as they should be potentially. That's what a lot of the countries, again, being from Canada, there hasn't been a trade deal reached. Donald Trump said he doesn't think a deal is going to be able to be reached with us. Are people like starting to feel a little bit more frustrated? Is that why his unpopularity levels are potentially kind of rising?
I wouldn't say so, and we haven't seen that at least on the college campuses I've spoken at. I would say for what you said about the wars going into this election and kind of how that played an impact on people getting more galvanized to go vote. I spoke on 22 college campuses leading up to the election and saw and heard thousands of young people, and we would typically go in, table, meet with them, pass out flyers. I would give a speech, and afterwards do a long Q&A format. And genuinely, to tell you the truth, I love the Q&A the best because you get to kind of engage with people of like minds and some there to disagree. And I would say almost all of those 22 campuses, at some way, shape, or form, in some point of the Q&A, it always came back to our generation being concerned that we would be the ones fighting on the front lines in a proxy war, whether that be in Israel, Gaza, whether that be Russia, Ukraine. That was a genuine concern for my generation. We grew up watching the war documentaries and seeing those history lessons of previous drafts in our high school classrooms, and we were terrified that once you get 18, your draft age, you're the ones being sent out there. We saw a president who had no new wars in 4 years. We elected that, and we're seeing him slowly, war by war, getting us out of those wars and having more peace deals than Joe Biden had accomplishments.
And just lastly here, before we conclude about a minute or so, you wrote an entire book on this subject. So I'm just kind of curious if, again, moving into the next couple of election cycles here, what is kind of like the gold standard in terms of a political candidate that can appeal to Gen Z and to our generation?
Someone who can talk with Gen Z. Like we had the president, somebody a little bit closer to age, maybe a JD Vance type figure, somebody that can lead the party into the future. The way I described it in the book is the Republican Party is like an old church who doesn't put an emphasis on their youth group. And when the congregation passes away, the church passes away with it. That'll be the Republican Party if we don't put an emphasis on our youth group, the youth voters. We have to have somebody to pass the baton to. Republican Party's going in the right direction.
All right, we will leave the conversation there. Brilyn Hollyhand, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Great work for the show. I love it.
Thank you. All right, that's going to do it for Forum Focus today. I will say you might think that the conversation came across a little bit conservative, but in fairness, a lot of it isn't what the Republicans are doing right, but what Democrats are doing wrong. We're going to continue that conversation in future episodes. Stay with us. Thanks so much.